Hey y'all, it's your girl Tashonda Renee, and I'm back with another video. In today's video, I'm making one of my favorite things to eat, and that is fried green tomatoes. This recipe is absolutely delicious and it's very simple to make. So if you would like to see how I do it, please stay tuned. All right, so you want to get started by cleaning your tomatoes. I've already cleaned mine here. And so what you're going to do is slice your tomatoes about a quarter of an inch thick. You want them to be thick enough to hold up while they're frying, but not so thick that they stay raw on the inside. And once you have them sliced up, you want to go ahead and lightly season with salt. And I'm also going to use some Cajun seasoning. You can use any type of seasoned salt of your choice. Then I'm going to add about a cup of buttermilk to a bowl. I'm going to season the buttermilk with the Cajun seasoning, garlic powder, onion powder, and black pepper. You're going to mix that together, making sure it's well combined, and then add your tomatoes to that. You want to be sure to cover each slice with the buttermilk because they do pick up a lot of flavor while they're sitting in the milk. You want to go ahead and set that bowl aside, and then you're going to start working on your dredging station. You'll need 2 additional bowls. So for this recipe, I do like to use flour and cornmeal. I prefer to use the Kentucky Kernel's chicken fry, and I'll be sure to leave a link to that in the description box so that you can find it. But you're going to add about a cup of flour or the chicken fry, as well as a half a cup of cornmeal. I'm using yellow cornmeal, but white or yellow, it really doesn't matter. And then you're just going to mix that together. You won't need any additional seasonings if you use the chicken fry. Now, if you're using plain flour, you want to go ahead and season that with the same seasonings you use for the tomatoes. In the second bowl, you're going to mix together 2 to 3 large eggs. And also, you're going to want to pour a little bit of that buttermilk from the bowl with the tomatoes into the eggs to kind of thin it out. Okay, so now you should have 3 bowls. One with your tomatoes and buttermilk, a second with the eggs, and the third bowl with the flour and cornmeal mix. So what you're going to do is take your tomatoes and dip them into the eggs. You want to make sure the egg gets on both sides. And then you're going to take that and put it right into your flour and cornmeal mixture. You want to be sure to coat both sides as well as the edges of the tomatoes. And then you can just set those aside once they're done. Now, once you have all your tomato slices coated, you're going to go ahead and heat your oil. You want to heat it to about 355 degrees, and you can test it with a thermometer or just do it the old school way. Just drop a little bit of your flour cornmeal mixture in there, and if it's bubbling, then it's going to be hot enough. So you want to go ahead and add your tomatoes to the oil once it is up to temperature. You're going to fry those for about 4 to 5 minutes per each side. So 4 to 5 minutes on the first side. Then you're going to flip it and continue to fry it 4 to 5 more minutes. Now, it is very important to make sure your oil is hot enough, because if not, if you add those tomatoes to cold or warm oil, they are going to be soggy. There's nothing you're going to be able to do to get them to crisp up. So be sure your oil is up to temperature before you add the tomatoes. Something else I wanted to mention is, do not overcrowd the pan. You want the tomatoes to have enough room to move and float as they get done. Also, if you overcrowd the pan, that's going to bring the temperature down inside the pot as well. And that's what we're trying to avoid. You want this to stay as hot as possible for as long as possible. And I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but I am frying my tomatoes in vegetable oil. You can use vegetable oil or canola oil. Those are the only two I've ever used to fry green tomatoes. So anything beyond that, I cannot recommend. So once your tomatoes are done, you're going to go ahead and remove them from the oil. And you do not want to sit them on paper towel, because that's just going to make them soggy. You want to sit them on like a cooling rack or some type of wire rack. And I'll show what I used here in a moment. And that's actually for anything you fry. You never want to sit it on paper towel. I'm not sure why we ever did that, but you always want to use some type of wire rack so that the oil can drain off of the food that you fried. All right, now I'm going to make a very simple sauce to dip my tomatoes in. I'm going to use some mayonnaise with lime. That's not necessary. You can just use regular mayonnaise. Then I'm going to add some sour cream and some hot sauce. I'll be sure to leave the measurements down in the description box, but you can kind of freestyle this and do it according to your taste. I'm also going to add some garlic and onion powder and some black pepper. I did add a dash of Cajun seasoning as well, just for a little heat. And so I'm just going to stir that all together, and that's it for the sauce. Okay, so this is the rack I use to drain my tomatoes. I put a piece of paper towel under it and flipped it over to give it some height so that the oil could drip down. So just be sure to use something similar. And that is really it for my recipe. So these tomatoes are absolutely delicious. They are tangy, crispy, and seasoned just right. They're perfect on their own, but they are also delicious with that sauce that I made. So if you try this recipe, let me know in the comments how it turns out. And if you grew up eating these like I did, tell me how your family made them down in the comments. Be sure to check out the description box if you're interested in the list of ingredients and measurements of everything I used. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of my videos like this. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.